No secret that many Kenyans are struggling under the weight of the ever-rising cost of food today. It is also a fact that the recent hike in fuel prices means that the situation is not about to improve soon. Our reporter Dennis Otieno spent some time with a family in Nairobi as he tries to paint the picture of the growing challenges that many working families have to cope with today.
The year 2018 began with some bad news for lovers of ugali. The price of a packet of unga increased from 90 shillings to a high of 120 shillings for a 2-kilogram pack. And it got worse. The cost of electricity went up. Such is the situation that has stretched the budget of Anthony Ndegwa and his family, living in Nairobi's Roysambu area.
Samsung kwa saa iko juu, cause nikilinganisha na December, November, October, nilikuwa natumia 1,000 kwa mwezi. Lakini sasa napata natumia 1,700, 1,500.
Ndegwa has also been forced to spend more to house his family.
Rent wameongeza kidogo, takriban 2,000 hivi kwa rent. Sasa tunalipa 17,000.
At Nairobi's Ngara area, we meet Mary Wanjiko, a vegetable vendor who is now grappling with the effects of reduced business.
Farmers were affected sana ka last year ama the years that were there before. Customers walikuwa na flock. They used to come and buy in bulk. But for now unapata customer anakuja tu na ile budget kamili kabisa, anakuja ananunua kitu moja.
She is now forced to hike the prices of her goods.
Kilo moja nyanya tulikuwa tunauza na 70, tunauza na 80. Sasa tunauza na 100.
Several factors inform the increase in the cost of living. One, the country is still reeling from the effects of the 2017 drought, with the short rains failing to make an impact. As a result, Kenyans such as Ndegwa and Mary continue to experience this painful episode, which is clearly notable from the increase in the rate of inflation. And as desperate times call for desperate measures, Ndegwa and his family are now eating less, literally.
Kama ni lunch, unapika sapa chakula tosha mpaka lunch time, and sometimes you forgo lunch, you eat a heavy breakfast and a heavy supper.
The latest review in fuel prices is also giving Kenyans sleepless nights. The Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, says there is more than meets the eye in as far as fuel prices are concerned.
This has already pushed up cost of essential products as is on inflation, and unless we rein on these cartels, this trend will only become worse.
Dennis Otieno, Citizen TV.
There you are, gentlemen. The cost of life seems to be going higher and higher every other day. And remember, as I told you earlier, we have already introduced Mheshimiwa Kipruto Arap Kirwa, Mheshimiwa Richard Onyonka, Mr. Charles Kipkulei. And now, my pleasure to introduce the panel this morning, Dan Manzo, Member of Parliament for Makueni. Karibu, Mheshimiwa. You just missed the bus. We were talking about the tone of Deputy President William Ruto, but well said, you're here already, and I will start with you. The cost of living. What's your take? I thought people said we need to cut down on politics so that we can be more progressive. It seems it's getting even tighter.
No, it's nothing really to do with the politics. You know, there's been a drought in the country, and agriculture is the backbone of this country. We have not embraced irrigation properly, and you know, the whole region of Eastern Africa, you know, is going through a drought, and there's food shortage. World Food Program is making an effort, but we have to look at it in the future such that we don't have suffering families. The main idea is to invest in irrigation as a country, while now we get assistance from World Food Program. So there is a problem. Many children, in fact in the world, after every 5 seconds, a child dies of hunger. So you can imagine we still are losing lives because of hunger. And it's something we need to invest in as a country, so that in future we have enough food.
Bwana Kipruto Arap Kirwa, you come from Kenya's perceived bread basket. Very recently, I think about a week or two ago, there were reports that there could be delay in farmers planting because there has been a delay in payment. What is the food situation now from Kitale and Trans Nzoia?
Well, there are a number of factors that contribute to the cost of living. one of which is warped policies in terms of agriculture production. In Trans Nzoia today and parts of Uasin Gishu and the North Rift, farmers are owed up to 4.2 billion by the government for maize deliveries. The last payment was maize that was delivered in 20th of December last year. And therefore farmers cannot do effective farm preparation, and the rains are likely to be coming at the beginning or mid-March. The other issue is that the fertilizer that the government promised is yet to be delivered. But more important is the issue that we need to be monitoring the food situation. There are 5 regions in Kenya that are responsible for food production at different times. One is the coast, Eastern Kenya, mainly Ukambani, what we call Ukambani, Central Kenya, South Rift, and now the North Rift. Now, put together, we are supposed to produce about 40 million bags. But the problem is that, of maize. The problem is that the government has not been reading from the right script. Whenever there is a problem in Ukambani, invariably it will affect South Rift because the rain pattern is almost predictable. When it fails in Eastern, it will
definitely
fail in the rest of the country. Now, the other issue that we need to look at is the issue of non-payment to many businessmen who deliver services, goods and services, either to the central government and also to the county governments. Some of the people have had their properties sold, therefore their cash flow is diminished, and whenever cash flow is diminished in one sector, the rest of the economy is going to feel it, because it's like a bloodstream.
So you'd say cash flow challenge?
Cash flow challenge is part of the inflation, because many counties are not paid for deliveries that were done even 3 years ago, and even the central government. They owe a lot of businessmen, and some of the businesses have been sold because of that particular problem of cash flow.
Charles, other than the issue of the weather, climatic change affecting the whole region, Bana Kipura has roped in the cash flow issue. And yet Kenyans pay taxes, and yet our economy is moving.
Well, you see, this is a challenge that has been there for a while, and it requires, you see, when you talk about cash flow, when money has been allocated for farmers and they sell their produce to government through the cereals board. Now, the challenge that comes is, first of all, the pricing, because sometimes when government budgets and says you're going to buy maize at this price, at some point, the farmers themselves may say, okay, we are not going to release our maize at this price because we feel it is not at a prevailing market rate. So the challenge is at the level of the planners to understand the actual price that should actually be the prevailing economic, the market price. So that's the first challenge. But I concede that there is a challenge in terms of managing our farmers, especially giving them good returns for their produce, because they put so much work into that. But again, when you look at government, they also try so much in terms of subsidizing agriculture, because there is the fertilizer program and all of that, trying to make sure that they are able to bring up their production. So it's a two-pronged issue.
Richard, you also come from a region that produces quite some food for this country.
Yes.
The two gentlemen have mentioned the issue of warped policies, cash flow, and Charles has also talked about the issue of supplementing farmers' equipment and services.
For me, the issues about the economic underpinnings which exist in this country are very basic. Number one, when you study economics in class, first year university, they tell you that you must provide the basic necessities for everybody.
Yeah.
That's food, clothes, shelter, you know, those very, very basic things. To me, even when you don't look at the bigger issues economically in this country, why is it that we are unable to provide the very basics to the Kenyan public?
Over 50 years after independence.
Exactly. I mean, we are talking about trying to create 2 million housing units for small income earners. I mean, the reality and the truth is that sounds like a pipe dream. We are trying to discuss and evaluate the challenges that have been affecting the agricultural sector. We started a fertilizer factory somewhere, you remember, by Kusho, I think it's Toyota Kenya, or with some other people. What happened? Where did that fertilizer go? Why is it that every year certain individuals are the ones who import fertilizer, and when the price is out there in the market, the price is actually always double what it's supposed to be in the international fertilizer markets? Why is it that you look at the youths? Some of the programs, like the failed National Youth Service program, would have been the how would I call it? Would have been the sieve that would be helping the very vulnerable, very poor youth in this country, because they were receiving a stipend of a certain amount every month. That program failed for obvious reasons, and I think everybody knows because of the corruption in this country. When you look at the...
You say it like it's a thing we should now accept to live with and move.
No, I just think that some of us, and many, the political class needs to wake up. Yes, we need to wake up and say there are certain things which must be fixed. If we don't fix them, we are going to annihilate our state. I mean, the country right now is in trouble. I mean, the truth is, look at milk, look at bread, look at electricity, look at maize meal, which is our staple food. Some Kenyans can't afford to eat a kilo of meat in 2 weeks. How can that be after 50 years of independence? I mean, these are very serious challenges.
Dan, Richard is alluding to the fact that the solution lies, or he's almost saying the solution lies with politicians, you included. Is that where the solution to all these problems lie? The high cost of living, the lack of food?
The leadership of a country is very crucial, and it determines a lot of issues, like he has said. And I want to agree with him. You remember there was a promise of the 1 million acre of irrigation. It was killed by corruption.
No, they've always said it was 1 million progressively.
Yes, but I want to tell you...
Even 100,000 acres, we should see what they produce.
At least we should be at 100,000 acres or somewhere towards a million. I know there is an effort to, like for example, to block River Athi, which feeds this irrigation scheme, to create a flow, a steady flow of water. And there's a big effort to do the Pwake Athi Dam, which is on course. But we have to move a little bit faster because people need to be provided with food. But the management is where the problem is. I believe we would have done better in the last 5 years with the 1 million irrigated. You know, Israel, it does not get rains as such, but the little water they have, they utilize it and they feed the rest of the world. So we as Kenyans can create a different, another basket, food basket in eastern region, in the coastal region, and I believe we can be able to feed every Kenyan if we do not mismanage the funds we have.
Now, I need us to move on. We'll be looking at this and many more, like I said earlier, in the dailies. But Mheshimiwa Kipruto Arap Kirwa, it's the same song over and over again. Politicians, corruption, planning, policies, and everything. What's happening? Because as we speak here, there's another set of politicians and analysts talking somewhere else and somewhere else and somewhere else about the same things, and yet we keep having the same situation in the country.
Well, one cannot, by the time he says the truth, he runs the risk of being blackmailed as belonging to this group or the other. The truth of the matter is that this government has spent a lot of time on grandiose projects, but they are not transformative. Those are not projects that assist people get to the basics. As you go to Galana, they should have had the audacity of ensuring that the systems that work, including now non-payment to farmers to the tune of 4.2 billion shillings by National Cereals and Produce Board, is something that should not be said in February, because land preparation in many parts of the North Rift is done from January. Now we are in February and we have not even done land preparation. And many farmers, Charles, when they sell their maize, there is nothing else left. They wait for that 1,000 shillings to come so that they pay the tractor man, or 2,000 shillings to come so that they pay the person to plow for their land. So it is important that the government looks away from these big projects, that they are doing it for other reasons, and deal with the issues of suppliers, both at the county level and also at the national level. We are suffocating Kenyans. We are killing them. There is nothing happening, especially on the farmers' front. So this issue of irrigation, hypothetically, will provide solutions to many people. But you see, that will mean that the government is producing food, and the farmers who have been producing food are now going to be relegated. A balance should be struck in a way that farmers, they continue doing what they have been doing. For example, when I was in the Ministry of Agriculture, we ensured Ukambani, which has been a net importer of food from the rest of the country, for the first time in the history of Kenya, and I don't think they have done it again, we bought, through National Cereals and Produce Board, 300,000 bags of maize from Ukambani, Makueni, some parts of Machakos. And that was something positive. What we should be doing is go to the farmers, give them the services. They are very good in adopting some of these services, but nobody reaches them.
So you're saying the government should facilitate, it should not become the provider?
It should not become the provider. Governments move away from being the main providers. They just facilitate. A government is a midwife. When you do the midwifery, you don't take away the baby. You leave the baby with the mother. But this government, at times, they run away with the baby because they want to sell it.
Fair enough.